In today's world, the pursuit of perfection has become a standard that many of us feel pressured to live up to. As a result, we face chronic dissatisfaction, burnout, depression, and anxiety. We're trapped in a cycle where we hold ourselves to impossible standards, chasing after an ideal that is ultimately unreachable. Society and advertising constantly bombard us with images of perfect lives, whether it's a handsome person sipping their favorite drink at a glamorous event, or flawless models always laughing and carefree. These snapshots scream at us, telling us, this is what your life should look like. In an attempt to mirror this illusion of perfection, we invest enormous amounts of time and money into refining ourselves, our environments, and our relationships. We tweak everything from our appearance to our surroundings, striving for that perfect aesthetic, and then we showcase it on social media for validation. We want the world to see the polished version of our lives, the perfect face, the sculpted body, the flawless home, family, and vacations. In essence, we try to cultivate an existence free from fault. But this ideal is not only impossible to achieve, it's exhausting and unnatural. That's where the Japanese concept of Wabi Sabi comes into play. Unlike our modern obsession with perfection, Wabi Sabi teaches us to embrace imperfection and the transient nature of life. This philosophy can help us break free from the hamster wheel of chasing an ideal life and instead appreciate the beauty of things as they are, perfectly imperfect. Wabi Sabi has its roots in the 15th century when Japan's ruling classes used Chinese teacups to flaunt their wealth, often during tea ceremonies held under a full moon. However, Zen monk Murata Shukō revolutionized the tradition by introducing simple, humble Japanese-made goods into the tea ceremony. He believed the ceremony should be a reflection of simplicity, not excess. His successors continued this trend, simplifying rituals, incorporating natural elements, and recognizing the beauty in impermanence. For instance, instead of elaborate ceramics, they used plain old-fashioned cups, and instead of always celebrating under a full moon, they appreciated the beauty of a clouded or partial moon. This new form of tea ceremony became a profound tribute to the impermanence and simplicity of life, an example of Wabi Sabi in practice. At its core, Wabi Sabi is influenced by Buddhist teachings, especially the three marks of existence: impermanence, suffering, and emptiness. It's difficult to pin down an exact definition of Wabi Sabi because the meanings of the words wabi and sabi have evolved. Today, wabi refers to things that are simple, rough, and asymmetrical, much like the way we find them in nature. Sabi speaks to the beauty that comes with time, objects that bear the marks of aging, decay, or damage. Together, they form a worldview that isn't just a philosophy, but an experience, an encounter with the imperfect, fleeting nature of life. Our obsession with perfection is like chasing an impossible dream. We yearn for a fantasy of completeness that we can never truly attain. Even if some consider perfection a subjective experience, what one person sees as flawless, another might see as full of flaws. It doesn't change the fact that true perfection doesn't exist in the physical world. Plato argued that perfection only exists in the realm of thought, as ideals in our minds. Everything in the material world is merely a replica of those ideals, and is bound to decay over time. No matter how perfect something seems, it will inevitably deteriorate. A near-perfect spouse will age, a perfectly sculpted body will decay. The more we try to perfect something, the more fragile it becomes, just like still water, easily disturbed by the tiniest grain of sand. As Lao Tzu wisely stated, it is easier to carry an empty cup than one that is filled to the brim. The more we have, the harder it becomes to maintain, and the more anxious we become about losing it. Trying to live a near-perfect life is exhausting, and the smallest imperfection can throw everything off balance. It becomes clear that pursuing perfection is not only futile, but it also leads to mental and emotional exhaustion. It leaves us feeling inadequate, always fearing that we haven't done enough, and dreading the inevitable moment when what we've built begins to fall apart. We become like ponds of water, constantly trying to keep them perfectly still. Even though wind, rain, and the forces of nature are always working against us. But here's the liberating truth. Humans, like everything else in nature, are inherently imperfect. And that's okay. Imperfection is the natural state of the world. The transient, flawed nature of existence is not a tragedy. In fact, Wabi Sabi teaches us that it's beautiful. It reminds us that accepting imperfection doesn't mean we stop improving ourselves. Self-improvement is fine, as long as we don't become consumed by the idea of reaching a state of perfection. Wabi Sabi is about letting go of our unrealistic expectations. By doing so, we free ourselves from the stress and suffering that comes with constantly striving for an ideal that doesn't exist. As Buddhist teachings suggest, the desire for perfection is a form of clinging, which lies at the root of suffering. Only when we release ourselves from the desire for perfection can we find peace. Life itself has no standards. No tree, no stone, no mountain is ever asked to meet any specific expectations. Nature allows things to exist as they are, with all their imperfections. Wabi Sabi is about embracing that natural state, seeing beauty in the crookedness, in the wear and tear, and in the inevitable passing of time. As Dogen, the founder of the Soto school of Zen Buddhism, said, "One must be deeply aware of the impermanence of the world." Imperfection is part of the cycle of life. Everything ages, everything decays, and everything eventually dies. But this is not something to fear. Instead, Wabi Sabi teaches us to see the beauty in these changes. Even Roman Emperor Marcus Aurelius recognized this, observing the charm in nature's unintended moments, such as the way a loaf of bread cracks in the oven, or how ripe figs burst open, or olives begin to soften as they ripen. In her book, Wabi Sabi, Japanese Wisdom for a Perfectly Imperfect Life, Beth Kempton offers practical advice on how to live in alignment with this philosophy. She suggests creating a home environment that embraces imperfection, not like popular minimalism that strives for symmetry and perfection, but through simplicity, keeping what's meaningful and cherishing the beauty of what's flawed. Finally, spending time in nature can be a powerful way to reconnect with Wabi Sabi. Activities like forest bathing, where you walk slowly through the forest, focusing on the beauty of your surroundings, help reduce stress and anxiety. Nature doesn't hurry, it doesn't judge, and it doesn't strive for perfection. It's full of asymmetry, crookedness, and decay, and yet it's breathtakingly beautiful. If you found value in this video, remember to like, share, and subscribe to the channel to keep exploring more about living in harmony with life's imperfections. Let's embrace the beauty of being perfectly imperfect together. Thank you for watching.